after the Hamas attack on Israel over the weekend, which once again upended the Middle East's geopolitical landscape and dashed hopes for an impending Saudi-Israeli reconciliation that might ease the tight oil market. War premium returned to the oil market on Monday. The United Arab Emirates, UAE, a major oil producer in the Middle East, and other nations began to improve their relations with Israel soon before the Hamas attack on Saturday. According to reports, the U.S. administration was also seeking to normalize relations between Saudi Arabia and Israel. The Wall Street Journal reported on Friday that Saudi Arabia, the top exporter of crude oil, might be willing to increase its oil output early next year if oil prices are too high in order to gain the support of the U.S. Congress. Currently, production is around 9 million barrels per day, BPD, due to a voluntary cut of 1 million BPD. In exchange for a defense arrangement with the United States, Saudi Arabia might have agreed to recognize Israel. It became apparent on Saturday and the subsequent days that a settlement might not be possible and that the Middle East posed a new geopolitical danger to oil prices. The UAE and Iran's improved relations, which observers saw as a sign of a de-escalation of tensions in the region, and the restoration of diplomatic relations between Saudi Arabia and Iran were all violated by the Hamas attack. Israel declared war on Hamas after the attacks and started taking measures to avenge the intrusions of Hamas fighters on its territory on Saturday. Analysts will be keenly watching to see if Israel formally accuses Iran of having participated in the assaults directly or indirectly, as well as whether the crisis will escalate beyond Israel and the Gaza Strip to other Middle Eastern countries. The president of Eurasia Group, Ian Bremmer, stated on Saturday that this is no less than Israel's 9/11. Bremmer stated that possible outcomes for the future included a war in the region, which could spread, significant civilian casualties, and the Israeli-Saudi deal, which was almost completed, is now over. Following the Hamas attack, Saudi Arabia demanded that the two sides immediately cease their escalation of hostilities, protect people, and exercise restraint. However, it also brings to mind its repeated warnings about the risks of the situation exploding as a result of the occupation's existence, the denial of the Palestinian people's legal rights, and the persistence of systemic provocations against its sanctuaries. Although the crisis could be managed, Iran would now be the focus of attention, according to analysts. At this time, there is no indication that Iran or Hezbollah intend to join. As long as this is the case, the influence on the world is minimal, according to Zvi Eckstein, an emeritus professor of economics at Tel Aviv University and a former deputy governor at the Bank of Israel. Analysts predict that Iran's oil exports, which have increased recently as a result of laxer U.S. sanctions enforcement, may start to decline once more. Warren Patterson, head of commodities strategy at ING, asserts that the U.S.'s more relaxed stance is likely a result of worries about the rising cost of energy. However, it would be challenging to imagine the U.S. sticking to this position if Iran were somehow involved in these attacks. According to ING, if these restrictions are enforced more strictly, there might be a loss of at least 500,000 BPD of oil supplies, which would eliminate the projected surplus for 2024. The strike by Hamas could eventually have an impact on supply and prices, according to well-known hedge fund manager P.R.O. The market will ultimately have to grovel for more Saudi supply, which, in his opinion, won't happen below $110 per barrel of oil. There is a significant chance that the U.S. administration will start implementing those sanctions on Iranian oil shipments more strictly because Iran is also responsible for Hamas attacks on Israel. That would make the oil market much tighter, Andurin said on X on Saturday. Additionally, there is a chance that this will result in a direct clash with Iran. The International Energy Agency, IEA, said on Thursday that the Middle East's geopolitical risk has increased as a result of this weekend's Hamas attack on Israel, and there are concerns about how the situation will develop and how far the conflict might expand. The Middle East, which accounts for more than one-third of the world's seaborne oil traffic, has seen a substantial increase in geopolitical risk, according to the IEA in its closely followed oil market report for October, which was released today. Following the weekend Hamas attack on Israel, which heightened tensions in the Middle East and brought back the market's war premium, oil prices spiked on Monday. The IEA stated in the study that although there hasn't been a direct effect on the physical supply, markets will stay on edge as the crisis develops. The world community will continue to be intensely focused on risks to the region's oil flows despite the conflict's many unknowns and against the backdrop of closely balanced oil markets, which the IEA had predicted for some time. The IEA marginally increased its projection for 2023 oil demand growth to 2.3 million barrels per day, BPD, up from the 2.2 million BPD growth anticipated in the September report, while cautioning that the heightened tensions in the Middle East could pose dangers to the oil market. However, the AEA reduced its projection for 2024 demand growth by almost 100,000 BPD because of concerns about weakening economies and the impact of energy efficiency on oil consumption. The IEA currently forecasts a 900,000 BPD increase in oil demand for the coming year, down from the 990,000 BPD increase forecast in the report from last month. According to the IEA, when the post-COVID recovery runs out of steam, the economic expansion slows, and energy efficiency gains weigh on oil use, the growth of the world's oil demand is expected to decrease to 900,000 barrels per day in 2024. As energy consumption continues to rise and will require all forms of energy, OPEC has dramatically increased its long-term oil demand projection and now anticipates that global oil demand will be at roughly 116 million barrels per day, BPD, in 2045, up by 6 million BPD from the prior assessment from last year. According to OPEC's annual World Oil Outlook, which was announced on Monday, the world's oil demand will rise from 99.6 million BPD in 2022 to 116 million BPD in 2045, an increase of more than 16 million BPD. Global oil demand is projected to increase by 10.6 million BPD from 2022 to 110.2 million BPD by 2028, with non-OECD oil demand rising by 10.1 million BPD to 63.7 million BPD by that year. Through 2045, India will be the main driver of growth, adding 6.6 million BPD to global oil demand. According to OPEC, the Middle East's oil demand will rise by 3.6 million BPD, Africa's by 3.8 million BPD, other Asia's by 4.6 million BPD, and China's by 4 million BPD. According to the World Oil Outlook for this year, the world's energy demand will increase by 23% from now until 2045, or over 3 million barrels of oil equivalent per day on average. OPEC Secretary General Haytham Al-Ghais noted this in the report's prologue. Recent events have caused the OPEC team to re-evaluate the capabilities of each energy source, with an emphasis on practical and workable ideas and solutions. Accordingly, our reference case projects that by 2045, global oil demand will be about 6 million BPD more than it was in the World Oil Outlook 2022, with room for further growth, according to Al-Ghais. The International Energy Agency, IEA, which predicts that fossil fuels will peak this decade, stands in stark contrast to OPEC's significantly larger demand prediction for the following 2 decades. The IEA received criticism from OPEC last month for asserting that the demand for oil and gas would peak this decade and for declaring the beginning of the end of fossil fuels. What are your thoughts on Saudi Arabia and OPEC+, and do you think they can crush the US economy? Let me know down below. If you want to continue to learn about business investing and financial education, we have got this video waiting on the screen for you to check out. Don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe for more videos like this. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.